Hello, and welcome to the methods video for our manuscript, Ants Combine Object Affordance with Latent Learning to Make Efficient Foraging Decisions. I hope you find it useful. But first, there's one fact about ant behavior which you need to know in order to understand the results, and that's that ants prefer the option that they're trained to first. We can demonstrate this quite nicely with a simple experiment in which a single ant is allowed to find, at the end of a lemon-scented runway, a drop of lemon-flavored sugar, and she drinks and returns to the nest. And while she's in the nest, we replace this runway with a rose-scented runway offering rose-flavored food. The ant comes, drinks, and returns, and on her third visit, we offer a Y maze with rose on one side and lemon on the other. And it turns out that the ants very strongly prefer the runway odor which they are trained to first. Right, back to the main experiment. So this experiment is designed to very roughly mimic a situation which is common in nature. These ants rely heavily on aphid colonies for their honeydew. However, these aphid colonies produce honeydew at a limited rate, so waiting around for the honeydew to refill can be a real problem. It would, of course, be very helpful for the ants to take information they have about the productivity of a food source, combine it with information about how many ants are exploiting that food source to decide whether they should visit it or not. And so this is what we've tried to mimic here. The experiment starts with a Y maze covered in paper overlays, as you can see here, with a scented paper overlay going to one of the arms. So only one of the arms is open, and at the end of the arm is a feeder. Shown here is an unlimited access feeder, but half the ants experience a limited access feeder. This is identical, but has only one opening in it. So this is the first main variable which is changed in the experiment. An ant is allowed up onto the runway, drinks from the feeder where it is marked. This is a very straightforward process, and then she runs back to the nest. And while she's in the nest, we replace this feeder and this overlay and put a new one in on the other arm. This one, in this case, is scented like rose, offering rose-flavored sugar. The ant, as usual, comes back up, drinks, and returns. And now the interesting thing starts. So we get rid of that last and we get rid of the bridge and we replace it with an encounter arena. And we put fresh scented pieces of paper on the Y maze itself. While our focal ant is unloading her sugar to her nestmates in the nest, we prepare 5 other nestmates for the experiment by feeding them ad libitum with the sugar solution which they were trained to first, in this case lemon. We allow these ants to roam around in the encounter arena and they're trapped in there. So half our focal ants will meet these nestmates and half won't. So social information or no social information, that is the second important variable. Our trained focal ant comes along, interacts with these fed ants for a minute, and then is allowed onwards to make her decision. And this is the decision which we record and the basis for the rest of our results. So what do we find? Well, remember that we have 4 permutations of treatments which we can see, and we're looking at the number of ants choosing the first option. Sample size is 100 for each permutation, so this is also a percentage. And if we have ants only encountering an unlimited feeder with no nestmates being encountered, we get, as expected, most of the ants choosing the first feeder encountered. If we allow the ants to encounter nestmates which are fed on that first encountered sugar solution, but the feeder was unlimited, still we get almost all the ants choosing the first scent encountered. If, however, now we offer a limited rate feeder, but there's no other encounters with other ants, again, almost all the ants choose the first odor trained to. But if we have a limited rate feeder and our focal ant encounters other ants which have been feeding on that flavored food, suddenly we get a complete change of behavior, and now more than half of the ants go the other way. So, I hope this was a useful video, and I hope you found the manuscript itself interesting. Thank you very much.